It was the dawn of a new era, and mankind had successfully achieved the weeb's fantasy, a full virtual world. Our boy Kirito logged in to test the waters and was welcomed to his new reality filled with enthusiastic gamers. The world was vibrant, and everything looked super realistic. You wouldn't be able to tell it was a game. He then met up with a random NPC named Klein, who asked him to train him. Since Kirito tested the beta version of the world, he knew the ins and outs of everything. He showed him how to harness his power and has allowed him to kill his first hog. Klein was on cloud 9 and wanted to go for seconds. He kept on enhancing his magic and bonding with Kirito. They trained all day, and it was getting late. This was Klein's first time trying a virtual gear, and he was super grateful for Kirito, who was more like a veteran in his eyes. Klein was getting hungry in the real world and decided to log out. He bid our boy farewell and tried to access his settings but couldn't find the logout button. Same issue with Kirito, and they assumed it was a bug. This was the only way they could escape this virtual reality, and they felt stuck. They heard bells and were teleported to the main arena. A gigantic hooded figure descended from the heavens, looking like the granddad of Saw. Something smells fishy here. It was the game creator who told them he purposefully eliminated the logout button, and any attempt to free them will result in their immediate death. I told you technology would be our downfall. He blocked out all the paths, and Kirito was starting to get worried, since the transmitters inside the headgear was in fact capable of frying their brain. He informed them that 200+ players had already been killed for trying to remove the gear. After showing them the news broadcast and weeping family, everyone took him seriously. He then told them that death inside the game was permanent. This is starting to sound like a nightmare instead of a fun game. To make matters worse for the players, the only way out was by completing all the stages of the game, which consisted of 100 levels, and they had to do this with one life. They all transported into their actual bodies instead of their avatars, sparking controversy. How did it know what they looked like? The creator, Kayaba, wished them luck and disappeared into thin air, leaving them speechless. This was no longer a virtual reality. Wraither, a hunger game for survival. Kirito asked Clean to team up with him, but he refused since he came with friends and wanted to stick with them. I guess this is goodbye. After all, Kirito was always a solo wolf. It's been a whole month since everyone was trapped and no one managed to pass the first level. Kirito joined a meeting to hear their plans of success, but it all seemed like wishful thinking since everyone was weak and afraid. They asked to team up, and he was left alone until he saw a hooded figure sitting alone. He and Asuna then joined forces. However, their meeting was interrupted by a whiny nobody who started complaining about the beta testers taking the lead. That's life, pal. First come, first served. Another NPC got up and scolded his useless complaints, since everyone was given a guidebook prior to the game. Using it, they studied the first level boss, and everyone agreed to give it their all. Later on, they got together to celebrate, while Kirito went to Asuna to try his luck. He gave her some honey to sweeten her bread and soften her heart, if you know what I mean. Quite the next level riz from our swordsman. The next day, they went deep into the forest and up to the first floor of the boss battle. Damn, if level 1 is this tough, just imagine what the higher stages look like. They fought like a team, and Asuna showed off why she means business. The boss looked hella scary and speed blitzed the majority. One of the leaders passed away, motivating Kirito to exact revenge. He and Asuna teamed up and landed a blow on the tough guy. After a heated back and forth, the entire team chipped in to provide support, and Kirito landed the final blow, vanquishing the first boss. That's not something to celebrate. You still have 99 more to go. If you got any girl problems, I feel bad for you, son. I got 99 problems. Kirito turned evil and revealed himself as a beta tester, or in SAO lingo, a beater. Asuna warmed up to him, but he decided to go solo once again. A lone wolf, I tell you. After hearing he was a beater, several people came asking him to join their guild. He should have revealed himself early. He could have been hella famous. After joining their guild, they went out hunting low-ranked monsters to level up. They bonded and looked like a strong team. It seemed like they were getting along, and elsewhere, Klein met up with Kirito, who kinda blew him off. It seems he still held a grudge. He went to bed with a hottie but chickened out and fell asleep like a normal weeb. Kirito is sure strange. The group then accidentally ran into an empty room and found a treasure chest, which was a trap unleashing tons of monsters. They were cornered and butchered. They stood no chance, and Kirito was unable to save them all. He watched them perish one by one and crawled his way out. The following day, it was Christmas Eve, and Kirito seemed depressed. He went to the 35th floor looking for answers and found Klein and his gang. They tried to talk him out of it, and they both ran into another militia. Kirito went ahead to battle the floor boss alone though, and went berserk fighting him. He defeats him off screen and comes back with a resurrection item. He bids Klein goodbye and walked away, acting all cool. Elsewhere, a girl by the name Silica was fighting a bunch of monsters and was getting whooped. As she was close to death's doorstep, our black swordsman, aka Kirito, came to the rescue. This guy sure has a hero complex. But hey, he risked his life several times, and after they chatted, he informed her of a place where she could revive her dead pet. Since she looked like his little sister, he decided to help her out. She held his hand and paraded him around town like a proud otaku girlfriend. Her previous teammates tried antagonizing her, but Kirito had her back. He even took her out on a date and explained the rules of sword art online to her. She did seem like a newbie after all. Afterward, he went into her room looking to chat, but we all know the main reason he was there. To explain complicated stuff, of course. What else did you expect? The next day, he took her to the flower garden, and it looked spectacular. He gave her a teleportation crystal just in case something happened, and they were immediately attacked by what looked like a monstrous flower. This place was no walk in the park. They ran into more along the journey, and this helped boost their XP. However, she kept on running into more traps, and they finally made it to the revival flower, if that's what you call it. While trying to go back home, her former teammates insisted she give them the flower, or else. I'm certain she doesn't know who she is messing with. She called her gang in hopes of ambushing our black swordsman, and they attacked him all together. However, despite numerous attacks, his regeneration was more than their attack power. Talk about an overpowered character. After all was said and done, Silica thanked him for everything, and it was time for the two to part ways. They revived her pet using the magical item, and their mission was completed successfully. Afterward, Kirito met up with the assault group to discuss the boss raid and butted heads with Asuna, who was now the second in command. Things looked beautiful in the arena, and Kirito was trying to chill until she came along to nag him. Come on, give the guy some break. Let him spread his wings and relax. Oh wait, she took a nap beside him. What changed her mind? Luckily, Kirito stood watch and had her back. As a gesture of gratitude, she invited him to a meal. Ooh, sounds like a date to me. These two look like they're going to hit it off. She told him about the recent murders that's been happening, and they heard a loud scream outside. They found a soldier tied down and pierced with a sword. He vanished without a trace, and Kirito was confused on how this was possible inside a safe zone. Asuna explained that it could have been a duel, and the winner dipped after strangling him. A girl who witnessed what happened broke down in tears and tried explaining what happened in broken words. They walked her back home, and the two decided to play detective and find the killer. They then went to floor 50, looking for an appraisal merchant. Would you look at that? It was the random NPC from the second episode. Agel. His name is worth remembering now. He appraised their sword and told them the name and guild of the killer. That sure is a neat trick. The next day, they mentioned the killer's name to the traumatized girl, and she started confessing her heart out to them. She told them their guild killed a powerful monster and possessed a rare item. They wanted to sell it, but their members were killed off one by one. And the one who did it was someone in their group called Grimlock. They were worried for her life and told her to hide for the time being. Kirito and Asuna went out looking for this member, and they met up with another to warn him of Grimlock's machinations. They were all worried, and just then, she was stabbed. What just happened? Kirito tried running after the assailant, but it used a teleportation item and vanished. Upon returning to the house, Asuna scolded his reckless behavior, and Kirito seemed upset. Kirito suspects foul play, since this was a safe zone, and killing should have been prohibited by the system. Neither of them knew what to do next, and they grabbed a bite while thinking of a solution. She revealed that she made them, and he started complimenting her chef skills. Just then, Kirito received a light bulb idea. Elsewhere, one of the soldiers went to the grave trying to confess his sins, and started seeing ghosts. No. They were just hooded figures, his former teammates to be exact. Kirito figured out that they used an exploit to make it seem like they died, but in reality, they faked all of it to force their teammate to confess. What a dirty trick. To make matters worse, actual killers arrived on the spot. The murder guild who had fun toying with people. Unfortunately for them, Kirito came to the rescue and scared them off. I told you this guy was overpowered, didn't I? Prior to his arrival, he went on a date with Asuna, and the whole thing didn't seem romantic at all. Ironically, they were talking about marriage and found out the culprit behind the entire operation. Asuna caught him red-handed and brought him to them. They were shocked to hear why he killed her wife. This guy sounded maliciously pathetic, nothing like a true villain. They thanked Kirito and Asuna and took him away. The two then continued talking about marriage. Are they planning on settling down? It's been years since the SAO hunt began, and Asuna dressed up to go on a meeting. Meanwhile, Kirito was out sword shopping. Wait a minute. Is she meeting someone else? Well, that sucks. Kirito asked for the highest quality blade, and upon testing it out, he broke it in one go. She tried scorning him, but he called her skills weak, antagonizing her. She gave him a challenge to bring her some rare metals, then she'll show him what a real sword looks like. He accepted and took Lisbeth to the snowy mountain with him. They were on floor 55. I still can't believe they are halfway through the stages. Kirito commanded her to hide and face the ice dragon all alone. He swatted his attacks and delivered fatal strikes of its own. However, Lisbeth was caught in one of its attacks, and he dived in to save her. They were stuck inside a hole, and she started growing anxious. He tried running up the wall, but failed. Things looked quite dire, and they decided to spend the night there. Since they told no one, they weren't expecting any reinforcements. What are they going to do now? The next day, Kirito found the rare metal they were looking for, and before they could enjoy their success, the dragon attacked out of nowhere and yeeted them up. It was a beautiful sight, and they seemed to have enjoyed themselves. Afterward, she went to work to create the best sword imaginable, and delivered it in a matter of seconds. Game rules, am I right? Instead of accepting money, she made him promise to become his exclusive swordsmith. Their reunion was cut short when Asuna interrupted, and she felt depressed for a moment. It was at that moment she realized that she messed up. She caught feelings, but Kirito didn't reciprocate. Even so, he promised to be there and stay friends. Now that's tough. Soon after, he vented his frustration out on a poor monster who didn't ask for it. Kirito was the only one going solo. This guy is our idol. He found an S-class rare item and wanted to sell it. But his transaction was interrupted by Asuna, who was sick worried about him. He asked her what her cooking level was at, and she told him she maxed it out. Quite the auspicious encounter, since he had a rare item, rabbit meat, and she invited him over to her place. Oh, where is this going? Her comrade tried to make a scene, but she dragged Kirito like he was her lapdog. She then took him to the 61st floor. Did they really come that far? 40 more to go before the game was over. Her place looked neat. For 4 million, it was completely worth it. He made himself comfortable and she started cooking like she was a pro. Are these two really going all the way? Also, does food taste as good in the virtual realm as it does in real life? Also, how is their real body functioning without food or drinks? I have so many questions right now. Since everything was going well, Asuna sent him a request to join her party. More like threatened him. The next day, he went to floor 74 and managed to crash into her, and was in for a treat. You sly dog. Hold up. Did they really make it to floor 74? They're almost there. Kirito protected her against her guardian, and they both engaged in a duel for Asuna. Just like the old times, a battle for the princess. But this was no match, since Kirito broke his sword in one swoop. The guy came at him again but was stopped by Asuna, who relieved him of his duty. It must suck to be him. But hey, Kirito gained his girl. What more can he ask for? They went ahead and started fighting monsters and clearing levels, until they stumbled inside a boss room. They dared to enter without a team, and found a scary-looking goat. The blue-eyed demon is what they called it. They started discussing of ways to defeat it while grabbing a bite, and Kirito was in love with her cooking. She explained how she made the food, and it sounded like an episode of Food Wars. He then ran into Klein and his gang, who was shocked to meet Asuna. Her beauty had my guy shaking and his gang swarming her. Kirito must have hit the jackpot. Their meeting was interrupted by a large militia, or as they called themselves, the Liberation Army, who demanded a map of the boss area. Klein wanted beef, but Kirito tried warning him not to go ahead. But this guy ignored him, and Kirito decided to follow them. As expected, they heard screams from inside, and the goat was slashing them down like it was a whack-a-mole contest. The teleportation crystals didn't work, and they were stuck. He eliminated them in one swoop, and Asuna dived in to save them. Kirito went after it to distract it, but they were both no match for it. Just as things seemed dire, Kirito decided to use his trump card. He used a technique called dual wielding and refused to give it any breathing space. Damn, he really killed him all on his own. Congratulations, my guy. He woke up and found Asuna crying. They were all glad to be saved and asked him what skill he used. It was a special skill only he possessed, that's why he kept it a secret, and everyone did the same. After all, he did save them from perishing. It's the least they could do to thank him. All the while, Asuna was hugging him tight and refused to let go. She told him that she's quitting the guild and teaming up with him indefinitely. Oh wait, someone published his dual-wielding ability. How could they? Later on, he was called to the commander's office, who challenged him to a duel if he wanted Asuna. Things are starting to get heated up in here. Asuna tried counseling him about the fight, but Kirito was ready to defend her right. The commander, Heathcliff, sent the challenge, and the battle was underway. His shield was difficult to get through, even though Kirito's dual-wielding ability was insane. In the end, he was defeated by him and joined the guild as a result of the bet. Man, how did he lose? Was Heathcliff a beater too? He started narrating his tragic past to Asuna and why he refused to join a guild, but things were different this time around. The next day, they asked him to train with them and went to a dungeon to test his strength. However, the douchebag from before poisoned their drinks and went ahead and killed one of his teammates. Kirito was paralyzed in place and was confused on what to do. He stood there as his life flashed before his eyes, and just then, Asuna came to rescue him. How did she know? Regardless, she was here, and that's what mattered. She gave the douchebag an ultimatum, and when he tried double-crossing her, Kirito punched a hole through his chest. Asuna tried apologizing, but Kirito went in for a kiss and promised to stay by her side from here on out. They were finally an official couple, huh? She tried dressing up for him, but he ruined the vibe. He literally went to bed with her instead of sleeping together. What a weeb. Asuna asked the commander for a break from the guild and went ahead to enjoy her temporary vacation with Kirito. He finally did it, didn't he? If you like it, you put a ring on it. Isn't that what is said? He started questioning the authenticity of her love and required assurance from her. Now that's true love, for you. She was smitten by his looks and surprised by his compassion. How did he find someone as passionate and caring? Should we try moving to a virtual realm too? I'm certain the sensations would be as delightful and their emotions seemed genuine enough. These two were no longer characters in a video game. Rather, they were a lovely couple, leading a peaceful life. That's the beauty of anime for you, showing us the truth of what could be. Kirito and Asuna were the perfect example of this. However, their wholesome gateway was interrupted by a creepy girl lurking inside the forest. Kirito went to her and took her back home. She remained unconscious while they discussed ways to wake her up. Kirito didn't worry about it much, even though Asuna was worried sick. The next day, the strange girl, Yui, woke up and was suffered from amnesia. The only thing she could remember was her name and broken words. Poor girl. She must have been traumatized. She started remembering a bit about human life and considered Kirito and Asuna her parents. I guess they adopted her into the family. Asuna wanted to stay with her, but Kirito told her it wasn't possible for the long run, since their primary objective was still to escape this world and defeat all the stages. They went back to the first floor to try and trigger her memory. The first floor seemed a bit desolate. It was silent. Too silent. Elsewhere, the army was tantalizing with a woman until Kirito jumped in to save her. Who knew the army was so corrupt? No matter what world we live in, there will always remain greed and wickedness, huh? However, if there is evil, there must also exist goodness. And Asuna scared them away using her might. Just then, Yui started feeling strange and glitched out of nowhere. Well, that was unexpected. They gave her some food, and she forgot anything ever happened. The church was a refuge for lost kids and poor souls. Given the recent ordeal with the army, Yuler, another Solider, came to ask them for help. She explained how bad things have gotten inside the first floor, and how her loved one was stuck inside a high-level dungeon. They didn't believe her until Yui confirmed she was telling the truth. Does she possess a truth ability or something? They went to the dungeon, which was kept a secret from most of the players. After all, who'd imagine a high-level dungeon on the first floor? Quite the neat trick from the creators. The comedic relationship between the two was heartwarming though, and they finally met up with her loved one only to be caught by a trap. Kirito went ahead and faced the boss. It was described as unknown and looked like the knockoff version of the Grim Reaper. In one slash, it defeated them both until Yui stepped up to him and blocked his attack. It seems that Yui was branded as an immortal object and used a hellish sword to obliterate the Grim Reaper in one swoop. Damn, now she's hella powerful. She then remembered who she was and started explaining the system of sword art online. She was a program designed to serve the system. Basically, a walking and talking AI. An adorable little chat GPT, if you will. She explained to them why she felt the need to escape her solitary confinement, and it had everything to do with Asuna and Kirito. Their relationship was special, and their emotions were genuine. Yui wanted to feel the same thing and begged them to stay by her side. An AI which feels emotion. Now that's strange. She then explained how she was about to be deleted from the system and told her she loved them in a heartwarming fashion. Whoa, did she really vanish? Wait a minute, since when did Kirito turn into a hacker? He managed to retrieve her data and engrave it into an object. Now that was a boss move. The following day, he went fishing to clear his mind and met another like-minded individual who outwitted his fishing skills. They cooked that little rodent, and it tasted hella good. The fisherman then told them about the king of the fish and asked them to catch it with him. Asuna had faith in Kirito's strength and told him to go kill it. Everyone came to watch them catch it, and the fisherman gave Kirito the pole to reel it in. There came the humongous fish monster, and Asuna demonstrated her skills and slayed it on the spot. Kirito then received a message from Heathcliff, and he bid the fisherman good luck with the remainder of his life. They teleported to the head office and were informed of a tough boss battle ahead of them. Heathcliff asked them for assistance against it, and Kirito agreed under the condition that nothing happened to Asuna. He tried asking her to stay back and let this battle slide, but she refused and told him she'd kill herself if anything happened to him. Man, their love is truly pure and genuine. They teleported to the 75th floor and met up with Klein, Agil, and the rest. The commander opened the gate and they were ready to head onwards. Asuna held his hand and everyone launched to battle simultaneously. The room was empty at first, until they saw a giant skeleton up in the sky. This guy was insanely tough. I doubt they'll stand a chance. They teamed up to try and dwindle his health bar, but the skeleton gave them all a run for their money. Using coordinated attacks, they managed to defeat it, even though 14 soldiers died. They still had 14 more stages to go, and Kirito noticed something odd about Heathcliff. He tried attacking him but was blocked by the system. It seems that he was an immortal object, aka a program designed like Yui. Kirito deduced that Heathcliff was Kayaba, and he revealed that he was the last boss of the final game, but wanted to have fun with everyone else. He used the system to paralyze them all and challenged Kirito to a one-on-one rematch without his system boost. If he won against him, he'd free everyone from this game, and Kirito agreed to the conditions. They went at it again, and both of them gave it their all. Kirito fought for the sake of his people and friends, and Kayaba for the sake of his game creation. Just then, Asuna protected him from his slash and died in his arm. To make matters worse, he stabbed Kirito, and it seemed gave over until he started glitching. He stabbed him as well, and they both vanished. He was teleported to the heavens where he met Asuna. These two shared a wholesome moment as they saw Sao crumbling. They met the real Kayaba, who told them the game was over and the remaining players will get to return home. He started explaining what led him to creating sword art online and congratulated them on winning the game. Does this mean it's all over? Asuna and Kirito started crying and the game transported them back to the real world. Our boy awoke in the hospital looking all tenuous and feeble. So they really did it, huh? Sao finally crumbled and Kirito was now left with memories and a broken sense of loneliness. His real-life sister, Suguha, was glad he was back and felt flustered by his presence. He asked her to train alongside her, and Kirito's fencing abilities had doubled since the last time they met. She managed to defeat him though, but then again, he had lost a lot of strength. It's been 2 months since Sao crumbled and 300 players hadn't awoken yet, one of them being Asuna. He went to the hospital every day and was shocked to hear that she had a fiancé. How awful, she isn't conscious, and they got engaged. This sounds like predatory behavior to me. Kirito was left in quite the dilemma. He went back home and felt completely devastated. Suguha tried consoling him, but his feelings for Asuna were real, and now he's going to lose her. Life is as tough in the real world as it was in SAO, only this time they were monsters in human flesh. Kirito then received a message telling him where Asuna really was. Agil sent it to him and explained how another virtual game called Alfheim. He told him the game was hardcore and he could even fly inside the game. But that was beside the point. He told her she was locked away inside the highest tower of the game. And that was the reason she hasn't woken up yet. He went back home in a hurry and told his sis that he's going back in. Our boy went to Alfheim and chose his avatar. Is he really going to go through this again? Well, that's love for you. However, this time, there was a logout button, thankfully. Not just that, but his previous skills from SAO had transferred onto this one, making him OP. He even used the object to resurrect Yui. Wait a minute. How does all this work? Yui explained that Alfheim was using the same server as SAO, and that's the reason they were identical. Yui turned into a tiny little fairy and promised to find Asuna together. He was excited to try flying and seemed to get the hang of it real quick. Well, a new journey awaits them ahead. This game should be as interesting, especially since death wasn't permanent. He hasn't been in the game for a few minutes and he's already acting like a badass. How cool can one person get? He then met his first friend, a hottie called Lifa. She explained how the rules of the world work and how he could fly faster. These two seem like they could be good friends, but his heart belongs to one. They flew back to the main tower where he crashed and was healed by her. It seems that Alfheim possessed magic, unlike SAO, which only relied on potions and rare items. They went to grab a bite, and she was looking quite stunning. If only he hadn't met Asuna, she would have been an excellent waifu. He asked her how to climb the world tree, and she told him it was impossible at his current level. She tried warning him not to go, but upon seeing how stubborn he was, she told him she'd help. But here's the kick. Lifa was actually Suguha, his real-life sister. Talk about a strange encounter. Asuna, on the other hand, felt worthless locked on the top of the tower. Sigurd, the prick, toyed with her and told her to succumb to his will. Yeah, this guy is annoying. The next day, Suguha came back from school and immediately jumped inside the server. She met up with Kirito, not knowing he was her brother. They had fun touring the city, and she showed him the ins and outs of everything. Her guild members tried taking her away, but Kirito stopped them. This reminds me of another incident. Is this déjà vu? Hold up. Is she falling for him? Man, this is not going to end up well. Back in the World Tree, Asuna was being used as an object of desire against her will. Poor soul. What did she ever do to deserve this fate? Kirito was killing monsters and gaining more XP to make it to the World Tree. Even though he was OP inside SAO, not all this abilities transferred to Alfheim. The real-life Suguha looked as good as the virtual Lifa, though. Hard to decide which one looked better. They were both bestowed, though. Later on, they went into a dungeon and were ambushed by a couple of players. There's always someone gunning after you, huh? These guys were tough, and their magic was formidable. Lifa kept on healing him while he charged into battle. He somehow transformed into the blue-eyed demon and decimated them all. I think this was a perk of Alfheim's magic. Life received word of another ambush and asked Kirito to help her. Since my guy had a serious hero complex, he didn't even hesitate. They flew towards the area and encountered a large squad trying to invade. Kirito stood between them and told them to stand down. They didn't know who he was and challenged him to a duel. Actually, Kirito was on the defensive. He still had more to go before he achieved his previous strength level. As the fight progressed, he started improving and won against their commander. Upon resurrecting him, he decided to stand down and admitted defeat. This new world was sure crazy. But this makes the whole thing exciting, since he had something to look forward to and the women looked flawless as well. I think I like Alfheim more than SAO. It's aesthetically more pleasing and has more power-ups. Let's also not forget the ability to fly. The city was buzzing with life and elsewhere. Asuna tried escaping the labyrinth. Back in the real world, Kirito was teasing his sister. They tried cooking together and catching up, while Asuna saw the mainframe of the system and how it functions. She tried looking for a way out, but was caught by one of the system admins. Kirito, on the other hand, visited her hospital alongside his sister. The admins kept on toying with Asuna, and these tentacles sure looked creepy. Suguha was a bit jealous of their relationship, and back in the virtual world, Lifa was caught crying by Kirito. The whole situation was completely awkward. Kirito sensed Asuna's presence and tried flying up, but he was stopped by a barrier. It seems he was still too weak. Yui contacted Asuna and told her not to worry. She threw a card at them which could be used to hack the system. My guy was determined to get her and went through the official gate to climb the tower. His first attempt failed miserably, as he was outnumbered and outclassed. This is going to be ridiculously tough. I don't see any way he could win. Unlike SAO, there weren't levels or stages to this, making it uniformly hard for everyone. Lifa swooped in to save him and made it out just in time to resurrect him. Wait, what actually happens when he dies? She then found out that he was her real brother when she heard the name Asuna. In the real world, she confessed her feelings to him and told him to leave her alone. Poor soul. This must really hurt. Kirito left her to wallow in her grief, and she went back inside to try and distract herself. They both met up and engaged in a fierce duel. If I didn't know better, I would have assumed they were lovers. They vowed to help one another regardless, and went back to the tower to try their luck. Their second attempt was much better, since Kirito was being healed, giving him a fighting chance. Even so, the sheer number of the army was devastating. Just then, they received reinforcements from all angles. Would you look at that? We now had a solid war on our hands. They might actually have a winning chance here. Kirito marched on ahead and actually made it through. He used the card Asuna gave him to open the door and teleported inside. They finally made it to the top of the world tree and found Asuna. Damn, he actually did it. Well, I didn't doubt him for a second. However, he got caught into a trap by the prick who saw this coming. Why does Kirito keep running into these endgame bosses? He locked Asuna up like a doll and continued to abuse Kirito. He then tantalized her flesh while Kirito stood there watching him. Kayaba gave him a boost of motivation, and he managed to hack the system using his permission. The system admin privilege was given to Kirito, and using it, he gave the prick a taste of his own medicine. Now that's karma for you. He destroyed the boss and saved the damsel. What else could you ask of the MC? Kayaba came through once again and told him to take care of his creation. Was he now the official admin? I guess it all worked out well in the end.